Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, President Rodrigo Duterte delivers his fifth State of the Nation address but accuses an opposition lawmaker for supposedly protecting oligarchs in the country. Also, as COVID-19 cases continue to rise, more Filipinos expected to hear government's plan to deal with the crisis. But did the president manage to present his long-term COVID-19 plans? And will lawmakers heed the president's call to reimpose the death penalty through lethal injection back to the country? Senate Minority Leader Drilon joins us live. Nearing the home stretch of his term, President Rodrigo Duterte says he's bent on accomplishing his administration's priorities. In his fifth State of the Nation address, the president appealed to lawmakers to support measures that will help the country move forward from the COVID-19 pandemic. He also called out Senator Drilon. He accuses the veteran lawmaker for defending oligarchs, specifically, the Lopez family, which owns ABS-CBN. The president was also upset about how Drilon linked oligarchy to political dynasties, dragging the names of his children. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Minority Leader Drilon. Senator Drilon, welcome to the show and maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Good morning, Pinky, and thank you for having me in your program.
Let me start with this. I wanted to get your overall assessment of the president's fifth State of the Nation address. Were you satisfied with what you heard?
You know, I have been hearing SONAs for the last several years, and this is the first SONA where I am the introduction and I was the conclusion. Because the president said that I am the defender of the oligarchs, particularly the Lopez's, because of my position that I took on the ABS-CBN franchise debate. Pinky, I took a position that we should renew the franchise because the issue was freedom of speech. The Lopez's were not the issue. If they are, it was only incidental. I admit the Lopez's are familiar to me. They're my friends because we come from the same province, but I have not asked for any favor from them which can tarnish or which can be cited as the reason why I favored the renewal of the franchise of ABS-CBN. It was because I wanted, because of my view that a free press is critical to the strengthening of our democracy in our country. So for that reason, I took the position that ABS-CBN should be allowed to continue to broadcast as we have done in the past in the other franchises, especially at this time when our people would need information insofar as the COVID pandemic is concerned. And admittedly, ABS-CBN has a wide reach in our country and people needed information. And finally, you know, we had 11,000 employees in ABS-CBN. To close ABS-CBN at this time of the pandemic was certainly not, for me, not correct. And we have done it in the past. In the cases where the franchises expired while we were debating in the Senate, we allowed the media outlet to continue until the end of that Congress. That kind of a standard was not applied for ABS-CBN. So it is for that reason that I took the position. Yes.
And for the record, sir, there were a number of you in the Senate who've actually expressed their support to the franchise renewal of ABS-CBN. Is that not true?
Again, I'm sorry, Pinky, I couldn't get you clearly. Yeah, can you repeat, please?
Hindi lang po kayo, Senator, hindi lang po kayo ang nagpahayag ng suporta sa franchise renewal ng ABS-CBN sa Senado, hindi ho ba?
Marami marami po kami. Sa katunayan, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, may 13 senador ang pumirma ng isang resolution na nananawagan na dapat i-renew ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN.
All right. I needed to ask you this, though. Senator, nagulat ho ba kayo? Were you surprised that within the first 3 minutes of the president's speech, your name was already mentioned?
I was surprised, Pinky. I did not expect it. But I stand for what I believe is necessary. I believe that the franchise should not have been terminated. ABS-CBN should have been allowed to continue broadcasting, especially at this time of the pandemic. And there are precedents in the past where we allowed the media outlet to continue broadcasting while the application for renewal is pending.
So basically, sir, you're saying that you were not defending the Lopezes, and what you're saying is you're defending press freedom.
Yes, that's correct. The Lopezes are incidental to the bigger issue of press freedom. And because
All right, I needed to ask you this. Go ahead, sir.
ABS-CBN was not given a similar treatment as on the other franchises that came before us for renewal.
And you mentioned earlier, Senator, na umpisa ho kayo at dulo din po kayo ng speech ni Pangulo. At the last part, towards the end of his speech, he said, I'd like to ask Drilon, were you part of ACRA when this contract of Ayala Water was being drafted? So this is another issue, sir. Just for the record, Senator Drilon, what was your position in ACRA, and when did you retire from ACRA, sir?
First of all, Pinky, on the grave of my parents, I swear that I had nothing to do with that contract. Not even a period or a comma. Up to this point, when I am talking to you, Pinky, I have not seen a copy of that contract. It was signed by the government during the time of President Ramos. I think I was already in the Senate when that was signed. So I had nothing to do with that. And as I said, I can swear by the graves of my parents, I had nothing to do whatsoever with that contract. I had no participation whatsoever, not a single comma, not a single period did I participate in the execution of that agreement.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, sir, this was signed sometime in 1997. This deal was inked sometime in 1997. If I were to look back, sir, you were a senator in 1995, I believe. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. I don't even know when the contract was signed. You're saying 1997, I take your word for it. But in 1987, I was already in the Senate and I had nothing to do with the contract. I long retired from ACRA by this time.
Yeah. So when did you retire from ACRA, sir?
When I joined the cabinet in 1986, August, I left the firm and had not gone back there, except when I was out of the Senate for 3 years from 2007 to 2010. Yes, I
see.
I was there as a off counsel.
Okay, so in 3 years, in 2007 and 2010, you went back as counsel in ACRA. Would you know, Senator, because you're saying that you swear on your parents' grave that you had nothing to do with this deal, would you know who in ACRA was part of this deal?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know who did it. I do not even know. Well, okay, I was informed that Accra was not the lawyer for any of the water concessionaires, neither Ayala nor Maynilad. But Accra was the advisor of the World Bank, not of the water concessionaires. And I repeat, I do not know what in terms of the agreement is. So I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, so with this discussion, Senator Drilon also, is that the president said in these words, sir, not exactly, and why, bakit kasi ikaw lang ang galit, dynasty, you are a hypocrite. You can't pass an anti-dynasty law. Ikaw nandyan sa Kongreso, ikaw muna dito. Again, Senator, I wanted to ask you, have you filed an anti-dynasty law, or have you filed anything banning dynasties, sir, in the previous Congress or even now?
First, I'm checking my record as in the previous Congresses, but what I can tell you is that I was already voting for the anti-dynasty bills which were presented before. And the last bill I filed on this was in July of 2016. Within the first week of July of 2016, I filed the Senate bill which prohibited dynasties and consistent with the mandate of the Constitution for Congress to pass an anti-dynasty law. And I was asked about this in media. Or was I referring to the president's children? I said no. The president, in my mind, has enough reason to rise above all of this. He is the president, and he has the capacity to rise all of these issues and push for implementation of the constitutional mandate that Congress should pass an anti-dynasty law.
So in 2016, that would be the 17th Congress. Senator Drilon, you already filed a bill against this.
I'm sorry, I can hardly hear you, Pinky. Hello? Hello,
sorry,
yes?
sir. I was saying that in 2016, which is the 17th Congress, Senator, basically you're saying that you already filed a bill prohibiting dynasties.
That's correct. In July of 2016, I already filed a bill. Previous to that, I am checking my records if I filed a similar bill. What I am certain is before 1995, I was already supporting the anti-dynasty bills in Congress. And Pinky, for the record, I do not have a single relative in politics, even in Iloilo. Wala po akong kamag-anak na nasa politika.
No cousins, no in-laws, walang ganon, sir.
None of whatsoever. I have no in-laws.
Okay.
Unless I do not know my in-laws. But no, I'm just kidding. I have no relative.
Senator,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you one more question about this. Why do you think you were singled out in yesterday's State of the Nation address?
I'm sorry? Why?
Why do you think you were singled out in yesterday's State of the Nation address, sir?
I do not know, Pinky, why I was singled out. Probably the president erroneously thought that I was after his family, but the matter, and that is because of my position on political dynasties, but that position that I have on political dynasties was already there even before he became president, because that is my belief that indeed the dynasty of would not be good for our system of democracy.
So were you, Senator Drilon, were you after the president's children?
Sorry? Was I what?
Were you after were you after the president's children, sir? Because when we
No,
talk in relation to political dynasty, sir.
not at all. As I said, I have filed the anti-dynasty bill even before the children got elected into public office. I have voted for the anti-dynasty bill. So
All right.
they have nothing to do in my equation for this.
Okay, we're gonna ask the Senate Minority Leader about government's response to COVID-19, and of course some other issues talked about by Senate President Rodrigo Duterte, the death penalty, and of course the issue on telcos. We'll be taking a very short break. We'll be back with Senator Franklin Drilon shortly. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon. Senator, we need to talk about COVID-19 because to a lot of people, the president, they wanted to hear what the government's plan is regarding COVID-19. I know that you earlier said you wanted to hear a comprehensive plan. I know that Senator Ralph Recto also said we need to look into also in the next 30 days, a to-do list in the next 30 days. Let's talk about COVID, Senator Drilon. Did you hear a comprehensive plan from the president?
One of the plans I would have wanted to hear is how to strengthen our health system. Today, we have almost 85,000 by the end of the month. We will have over 85,000 of our people affected by this. We have over nearly 2,000 deaths. It is quite obvious that our health system was not prepared for this pandemic. I would have wanted to hear from the president, how do we strengthen our health system? How do we fund our universal health care plan? How do we strengthen the PhilHealth with what we hear today about the corruption taking place there? In other words, Pinky, I would expect that this is not the last pandemic that we will go through. And this is our opportunity to strengthen our health system so that we can better respond to it in the future. Number two, the lockdowns really has caused a lot of problems. We have the longest and most stringent lockdowns in the entire world. And it has caused a lot of difficulties to our people. Of course, it was a debate as to between the health and the economy, but we have already 4 months of this, and I had wished that we should be able to come up with a more definite plan on the matter of the lockdowns. So, in order to minimize its adverse effects on our economy, that was what we were looking for, and I expressed this view 2 weeks before the SONA. I said I would like to hear a comprehensive plan because we will support insofar as this is concerned. Like today, Pinky, I will vote on third reading as I have voted on second reading on the Bayanihan 2. Although
Bayanihan
I
Act.
feel, yes, Bayanihan 2 Act, although I feel that 140 billion is not enough since 45 billion will go to the distressed industries that also need help. Less than 100 billion will go to the Social Amelioration Fund, which our people need. But nevertheless, I will support this Bayanihan 2, although I find it inadequate. So I had wished that I had a more, that the president laid before us a more comprehensive plan on where we will be in the next 6 months, at least.
Right. I want to just talk about short term. Let's look at the short term, Senator Drilon. 140 billion, which is part of the Bayanihan 2. You said you are obviously going to support this. However, you said that it seems kulang ito. Hindi na ho ba kayang taasan ito, at least for Bayanihan too, because I am looking at the short term. And then my follow-up question to that, sir, is that must government borrow more money to fund the COVID-19, to address the COVID-19 pandemic, to pump prime the economy?
Yes, the government must borrow some more. Must borrow because we will put this into good use. Can we afford to pay? Yes, we can afford to pay this if the funds are dedicated to the right projects. For example, one of the things that we can do is ramp the infrastructure program of the government. This provides employment to our people and prepares our economy. So we must, in my mind, in my view, borrow some more because we are not alone in this situation. The whole world. So we should not we should take this into account in making a decision. And to me, uh, 140 billion is not enough. But if that is what is presented, I may have my reservations, but I will vote for it.
Okay, I know, Senator, also that last week, prior even to the President's State of the Nation address, you said that the IATF failed. How can this, how can we move forward, sir, in your view, so that the IATF will not be a failure?
Well, the health sector, the health secretary, must be able to influence better the decisions of the IATF. One. Second, the economic sector should have a strong voice because today this problem involves two basic sectors: health and number two, our economy. So therefore, in my view, the Secretary of Health and the Secretary of Finance should lead the recovery program. Unfortunately, there are so many issues raised against our Secretary of Health that his effectiveness to influence health policy is open to question, is questionable. And honestly, I don't see the hand of Secretary Dominguez. I know his position about the continued lockdown. He feels that this is harmful to the economy. He feels that a better system can be crafted so that we can address both our economic needs and our health needs. But unfortunately, I don't hear his voice very, very often in so far as the IATF decisions are concerned.
Just very quickly, Senator, before we go on a break, our cases obviously going up. We've averaged 2,000 the past 4 days for 4 to 5 consecutive days, and then 1,000, 1,500 the past 2 or 3 days, sir. Palagay niyo ho ba, Senator, on July 31, kailangan ho bang maghigpit ulit in terms of quarantine protocols or restrictions? Meaning, must we tighten? Dapat ho bang bumalik tayo, possibly, especially NCR, sir, sa MECQ?
Pinky, I am no health expert. I am no expert on this. But I wish there are more inputs from those who understand this thing and from our economy, our Department of Finance. Because this involves all of us. I don't want to just mouth suggestions where in an area where I don't feel competent. I can talk to you for the whole day about our justice system,
Okay.
but I cannot pretend to be knowledgeable
Okay.
on our health system. So that's
All
where
right.
I'm coming.
Okay.
That's
Senator, we're going to take
yes.
a very short break. Sorry, sir, we need to take another short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the source. Senator Drilon, do you agree that the telcos should improve their services because otherwise by December, they may be in trouble, as President Rodrigo Duterte said.
Yes, the health sector must improve their services so that we will have an opportunity to arrest this virus. We have
All
a
right,
very
sir,
difficult problem.
correction, sir. I meant telcos. Telcos,
I,
sir. Globe
I'm
and
sorry?
Smart.
I'm sorry, Globe and
I
Smart.
was referring to
Certainly,
the.
yeah.
Yes,
I
sir.
am, yes, I agree with the president. We must improve the services of these two telcos because, indeed, even in the Senate, sometimes we have a teleconference talking about our telcos and we cannot hear each other. The signals are very poor. I think this is an issue where there is no dispute that we need an improvement insofar as our teleconferencing is concerned, our telecommunications is concerned.
Just on a last note, Senator, one last question. What were your thoughts when you heard the president talking about China and the Philippines claiming parts of the South China Sea? He said that China has the arms. We don't have it. They are in possession. So what can I do? We have to go to war. Ang sabi po niya, I cannot afford this. And maybe some other president, but siya daw po hindi niya kaya. Inutil ako dyan. What does that make you feel as a Filipino and as a senator, sir?
Well, I would like to think that a country like Vietnam, whose stage of development is similar to ours, is able to assert their right over the disputed South China Sea effectively without resorting to arms. I would like to think that today, given the geopolitical situation, um, uh, presenting our case before world opinion is something that we can do. Yes, we cannot confront them militarily, and I'm not in favor of confronting them militarily, but there are ways of espousing for the cause of the country without resorting to arms. And the other countries are
Okay.
able to do it. Are able to do it.
All right, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at mag-ingat po kayo.
Thank you very much, Pinky.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.